Hello, and I'm Randy, and I have an announcement. Which, if you look at the title of this video, you probably already know what it is. We here at the Alpha Legion are getting an official community podcast. Now, this video is just basically me, who is the host and guy who's in charge of organizing this and, recording it and posting it and all that nice shit. Just I'm gonna ramble a bit and explain how it works and what we're going to do, release dates, all that nice stuff. Though I would like to point out that this is kind of a tentative thing. I've never done anything like this. It's kind of hard to get people from different continents together because you've got Americans, you've got people from Australia and Southeast Asia and Europe, a few in I've even seen like a few in really weird places on the team speak and elsewhere, but that's besides the point. Basically, what this is it's what the name implies. It's the Alpha Legion Community Podcast. We're gonna go over things like news pertaining to the Alpha Legion, like videos from people within the Legion, events, tournaments. We got events, tournaments, and whatever else I can think of. Anything else that's really major at the time. Although those three things will be the most common news. And we'll also, for those of you interested in role playing on the forums and on whatnot, like the little nerdy faggots you are, which I will admit I am one of you, so I don't really know if I'm insulting myself there. But anyways, we are going to go over the lore changes that you may or may not be aware of. We're going to try to keep you as abreast as possible. Mind you, this is only going to be general and generic things, and I can't stress this enough. The lore is, the new lore anyways, is still very much a work in progress. So things are liable to change. So do keep that in mind for that. But besides that, we'll also go over things like 40k and fantasy news, tabletop lore changes for those, any video games like Battlefleet Gothic or Total Warhammer, anything like that. Total Warhammer, actually. Total Warhammer. That's what it should have been called, but that's entirely besides the point. And we'll also go over, and this is sort of a tentative list. We'll also go over other sci-fi things. It is a podcast, so it's not going to strictly stick to a structure. We are just going to hit on certain points every episode and then kind of let things run from there is how I'm going to do it. Now, as for that, with that out of the way, that is more or less what we're going to do on it. How it's going to work. Well, first off, I'm sad to say that this is going to be a pre-recorded podcast in that the day you get the episode, depending on how editing goes, because, well, we don't have one recorded yet, that's going to happen next Sunday, October 4th, is when the first episode is being recorded. How editing goes is really what determines when the release date is. So, all I'm going to try to do is really get it out before the next episode gets recorded. Oh, sorry. And, yeah. But, as to how the editing is going to work, I'll just add in some, basic visual things, give you something to look at while you're doing it, and, also, I will try to edit down audio so that you don't get echoes or anything like that. And if, on the off chance, someone says something really bad or accidentally gives out some personal information they don't want people to know about, and they ask me to edit it out or censor it, I'm going to do that. So this is not an entirely raw podcast. I want that. I can't stress that enough. It's not entirely raw. But for the most part, it's raw. We're not doing second takes. In fact, I'm probably not even going to edit the clusterfuck of mistakes I've already made with this little rant thing. Although I don't actually have a script, because I did not write a script because I'm a faggot. So, yeah. Anyways, on to the mechanics of how the podcast is actually going to work. It's going to be recorded on the TeamSpeak. And the reason for that is, yes, Skype calls have better quality than TeamSpeak stuff, but I have found in my experience, especially with talking to people in the Alpha Legion who have very different internet qualities and live in very different parts of the world, TeamSpeak is just far more stable and a lot less of a headache to do. So unless something better comes along, I'm sticking with that. And that's another thing I have to stress. This is all very tentative because I've never done anything like this. Yeah. Anyways, also, the who of it is, well, there is a system for choosing people, I'm going to admit. I would love to be completely open and like, hey, you want in on the podcast? Okay, sure. But, in a group with over, last I checked, it was 5,000 something people, that's just not possible. And as much as I hate this system, because I personally don't like the system I've chosen to use, but it's honestly just the thing I see working best. So, how this works is, well, there are restrictions for now, and once again, this is one thing that'll probably change when I get into the swing of editing this podcast, is that how I'm going to work it is, if you have a certain like bad mic quality or an accent that makes you just hard to understand sometimes, well, not sometimes, I mean, it's okay to be hard to understand sometimes, but too much of it is just annoying, and then I'd have to put subtitles in, so I would, like, for now, there is a cap on quality in terms of understandability, which will probably change in the future once, I get into the swing of it and start, adding in subtitles and stuff. That'll change, and we'll be able to bring in more faces. But back to how and the cast is not set, so don't worry about that. The cast I'll rotate it out every episode. I mean, I'm probably not even going to be a consistent face. I'm just going to see who would make a good replacement host for me for when I'm gone, because there's just no viable way I'm going to be able to be there every weekend on the dot, no matter what. So I'm going to try to find like someone who can just host it and record it and send it over to me to edit as quickly as I possibly can. And how the group is going to expand is very simple. There is a Steam group on it that is invite only. The reason for this group is really simple. It's mostly just a list of people for me to basically, it's more or less a list of people for me to just look at and choose from, and just ask like all the people who are in part of the podcast at once, hey, are you good for this weekend or not? So, but anyways, it's invite only, but anyone in the group can send an invite. So essentially, you get to know one or two people in the group, and if they deem your mic or accent of sufficient understandability, which once again I'll probably get rid of later, then they'll invite you in, and you'll be part of the group, and I will try to work you into a podcast as quickly as I can. Now, this brings up another point. You get one podcast to prove yourself. It's basically like your probation or your interview. You fuck up on the one podcast, then you're out, because, like I said, I'm not trying to make a real quality podcast here. I mean, I want it to be at least half decent, but I am honestly okay with half decent. Because, this is just a new thing for me, so it's probably not going to be, Rooster Teeth or any of that, or, co-optional podcast quality from the get-go. It's going to be pretty bad. And, well, it'll probably be pretty bad from the get-go, just because I'll fuck up. no one else's fault. It'll probably just be me, but that's on game besides the point. So that's how the group will grow and how we'll sort of weed out people who will well, I won't say ruin the podcast, but aren't really good for it. But, yeah. Now then, the edits. Yeah. I wanted originally to draw up a little picture thing, use I got some good art software on my computer right now. I wanted to draw up some art stuff and, make it look all nice, give it a unique little flair, but yeah, I have to use a mouse for that, so that's not gonna happen unless I get a drawing pad. And I'm not asking you to give me money because first off, there's no way to do it. I have no way to do that actually set up, nor will I ever set something like that up in the foreseeable future. So, yeah. But anyways, so basically how it's going to work for the visual edits is I'm just going to put avatars on there, just switch over to that person when they're talking, yada yada, and just pull off relevant images for whenever things need it. Like, if something needs some context, or we're talking about a picture, or whatever, I'll just go find that thing and put it in there. So, yeah, don't worry. You are going to have something to look at, but it's not going to be quality stuff. I mean, it's a podcast. It's really, you're supposed to just be able to, tab to another window and just listen to it while you do something else. But, yeah, some people prefer to look at it, and I don't blame you for that. But anyways, I'm getting off topic again. So, the why of it is, there's several reasons. It actually started off as a little joke I made in TeamSpeak. If you've gone into the general chat or the Battle Pub Lounge, depending on which has people in it, because they're basically two channels that are the same thing, the conversation there can have a pretty big and pretty interesting range, and it does typically state a certain topic. So I asked, one day what it would be like, and that got me thinking. What if we actually legitimately did a podcast? So here we are. Now, as to is this actually official? Honestly, at first, I had no intention of ever asking for it to be official. Essential, what the fuck am I talking about? Official, but in the admin chat for the Alpha Legion, that is the admins who run this place, they decided it would be when someone told them about the idea. So it is now official. Now, the second part of the reasoning for it is, well, if this is literally going to be the first video on this channel, I'm not gonna lie, I never expected to actually use this account for anything other than, watching videos, but whatever. The third reason is the third reason, though, that's off topic. The reason, basically, what I'm trying to get to, is that, well, honestly, there's not a lot of community content, and I have talked to some of the people who make content for the Alpha Legion, and they want more, well, they don't demand content, but they want to see the community making more content. I think what better way to do that than to have, a podcast. So, going back to the video thing, or news thing, someone could make a video, and if it's good, you promote that video, get people to watch that video. And yeah, I know this is kind of ranty and rambly, and I'm really sorry for it. So, but whatever. It's fucking 11:15 at night, and I've been trying for over 3 hours to actually record this over background noise. So, I'm just going to cut this fucking TeamSpeak blowing up. So, anyways, I'm not going to cut anything. You're going to have to listen to this raw, basically, because, I don't know, I just don't feel like cutting it. But anyways, let's see, what have we covered? We got, So, as for we got the who, The who is, I'm still trying to determine who will be on the first podcast. There's going to be no more than 6 people. That does include myself per podcast. Maybe if something really special happens, there'll be 7, but I don't want more than 6 just because any more and it kind of becomes a clusterfuck. But, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, we'll have the rotating cast and all that. I've already touched up on that. But basically, there's also another reason for this video, and this is sort of a special mini announcement thing I'm going to do. So, also, this video is probably not even going to have any pictures. It's just going to be fucking audio and whatever the fuck I decide to put on there. It might not even have a fucking picture because, But anyways, on to the special announcement because, well, so this is basically a community effort. I mean, I'm basically just the host and the guy who posts it to YouTube, but really, I mean, any old jackass can do that. So, so I thought, what better way to involve the community than to have a little contest? You see, I do have a certain problem here. I could design a nice little banner for the podcast, and it would all be fun, and it'd look nice, and blah blah blah. It'd just be some shit I edited in GIMP probably. But I decided no. Instead, we're going to have a contest of sorts. I'm going to make a thread in the Alpha Legion forums, which I'll link to in the description. And in this thread, I want you to design a banner or whatever you call it. A logo. There you go. Logo. I forgot logo. Fucking, I'm an idiot. And again, it's almost midnight, and I actually haven't slept in 48 hours, so whatever. Anyways, this contest, essentially, you go onto this thread, you submit the logo, and you just post it, really. You can, I do recommend spoilering it, just to save some space and load times for people, but, whatever. You don't really have to do that. I'm just asking for some, just out of courtesy to do it. And from that, next week when we record the first episode, and go into a bit more detail in that about how everything's going to work and yada yada, we're going to, well, I say we, but it's really at this point just me. I will use the winner in that video. Like, I'll announce the winner in the video. Use the logo / banner thing / thumbnail, whatever, for the video. And, yeah. And also, after which, if, whenever I have time, I'll make a runners-up video in which I'll show all the runners-up. So, how am I going to determine which wins? Is it just going to be me arbitrarily looking and say, hey, this one looks good? Yes and no. I'm going to go through, assuming they're actually submissions, because you guys may not actually give a shit enough to do it. I don't know. I don't control your lives. Do whatever you want. Make one or don't. If you don't think it's worth your time, then don't do it. If you do, then, you can do it. By all means, please do it. But, essentially, I'll go through and pick my favorites. And I do want to stress this, you don't actually have to make a forum account for this if you don't want to, but if you don't and you just use the guest function, please put your name in there so I can credit you in the video and all that. But anyways, how it's going to work is I'll go through and I'll pick my favorites, like probably Friday, and I'll make a video going through all of those, or I'll just make a little straw poll and post it to the Legion and, have them, or whatever. I'll do something, probably the video. And then, you guys will vote for your favorite. So, and that being, you either put a comment in, or you go to the straw poll or whatever, and you vote for whoever's your favorite. And that'll be the one we use. And I'll make a runners-up video and an honorable mentions video. As in ones that I like, the runners-up, in order of the one, you already have seen them, but, I do want, if people actually do this, I want them to get all the credit they do, because, they're actually doing something really cool for me, and I would very much appreciate it. I mean, if you do this, I'll just love you guys forever, really. No homo. Unless you want it to be homo, then slightly homo. Yes, only slightly, though. Only slightly. And, I know my humor is shitty, don't worry. This is just like fucking Randy is about to fall over dead if it weren't for having a ton of caffeine in his bloodstream humor. It's actually slightly better when I'm not, about to fall over in a coma. But anyways, back on topic. Once this is done, I'll make the honorable mentions video, or the runners-up / honorable mentions, and just go through the ones that were not only runners-up, just in order of second, third, fourth, yada yada. They'll be like, if there are more than 10, I'll give you a choice of the top 10. If there are, if there are less than 10, I'll just fucking put them all in one thing and let you vote for them. And just go over the rest and how many votes they got and whatever. But the whole point of it is, assuming there are more than 10, even if there's 15, unless I get a shit ton of submissions, which I don't think will happen, because, I just don't expect, I'm not expecting miracles here, people, I just don't, but I'm not, so, anyways, assuming I get, say, 20, I'll go through, 20 will be the cutoff for this, if there's more than 20, then someone's is getting left out of the honorable mentions video, and, I'll mention them in the video, but I'm not going to show your thing, because you'll spend a lot of time on it, just because, even this is, over 20 minutes now. I'm looking at the record time. But anyways, I will go on there, go through the ones, what I liked about them, what I disliked about them, and, just generally comment people's opinion on them, and link, if you have a DeviantArt or whatever, and you want me to put a link to it in the description of these videos, by the way, you can just put it with your name, and I will be sure to link it in the video. I don't really give a shit how many links I actually put in that description. If you want to just use this as an advertising thing for your thing, just go ahead and do it. I'm perfectly fine with that. Anyways, I'll go through the runners-up, and, the honorable mentions, the ones I liked but didn't really make the cut, and then I'll go into, like I said, what I liked about them, what I didn't, and that'll be that video. As for other plans for the channel or the thing, it'll occur once, at least every weekend. I might move this recording to Saturday, or I might keep it Sunday, or I might just change the times, I don't know. All of that really depends on editing and timing for other people. So, yeah. But that is more or less all I have to talk about. If you want me to clarify anything, or you just have some general question, just leave it in the comments, and I'll get back to you. If you want to be a part of it, well, like I said, I just can't say, yeah, you're in, unless I know you personally, and, it's mostly, I will go into a bit more explanation about that, because I know I kind of, yeah, fuck it, I'll go into an explanation about that, because I know I kind of brushed that off. It's mostly, one, ensuring I just don't get this huge cat thing where, people come on once, a year or something, assuming this even goes, past more than a few episodes. Because, I don't know, probably, 2 of you out of, the 5,000 and something people in the Legion are even going to care about this. But, but whatever. Anyways, so how that's going? Why is that a thing? Well, like I said, I don't like the system, and I will change it as soon as I find something that's as good for not only quality control but also just generally making sure everyone at least kind of knows each other a little bit on the podcast, so it's not the whole thing just doesn't become like semi awkward introductions. Now I know that's unavoidable for having like a constantly growing cast, and I'm fine with that, but I just don't want every episode to just be these awkward introductions. So, but whatever. Going back on that basically falls into quality control, and I am fucking sorry I keep going on tangents like this, but anyways, back on track. So the whole thing is more or less to keep a track on who's in the podcast, how they do things, and like why. No, not really why. What the fuck? There's no why to it, but who's in it, how they work, all that nice stuff, and make sure we just don't get some guy who will blow up everything just to try to look good for like the recording. So you know, because I mean, there's some people who just don't have good. They don't do well on recordings in general. Like even fuck, you could say I'm one of those people, but I mean, I do think I am one of those people because it's just fucking 26.5 minutes so far of me just ranting about. Well, not even ranting. It's more of a retarded, half asleep rambling about how this is gonna work that no one cares about, and I'm not actually going to bother to edit because it would just cut out the flow too much. It sound weird and but yeah. Recap: Alpha Legion Community Podcast. We covered how it's gonna work, how the people are, how it's gonna work, what's going to be on it, and we've covered the logo competition, which is in no way official, and I've had no permission for this, but I'm doing it anyways because I'm the one actually hosting the podcast. Which brings me to another point I forgot I mentioned about that. Actually, I am going to be rotating. Don't just think because the initial thing is over that you should just stop submitting if you really want to make another logo because I don't know, you just don't like the one I picked or whatever reason. Feel free to just like submit it in that thread or whatever. I'll think of some way after we get enough like the first one, even if I have to make it myself, for you guys to like do your own logos and submit them where if they decide, if those higher above me decide you're shit and you shouldn't be doing this, whoever I pass this on to see it, and we will, and change it out, like even for like holidays or just because the one we have is getting old, whatever. But yeah, the link will be in the description. I will probably make another video explaining exactly the rules and the parameters and stuff of that, and that'll be tomorrow probably. Maybe not even tomorrow. It all depends on a lot of things, but we'll get some rules. I'll try to have that out by the end of tomorrow, though, and I will probably just use the little prototype thing I made for this, the Alpha Legion podcast logo, just so you guys can see what you'll be stuck with if you don't do this. Because I just made that thing today, to be honest, because I've been trying to run around and get this organized for the past few days. And, I mean, yeah. So if you've listened to my incredibly shitty rambling to this point, thank you very much. And what the fuck is wrong with you? Why the hell would you listen to me for 30 minutes? Anyways, thank you all, and I'll see you podcast day. Well, probably not podcast day, but whenever the podcast gets posted. Yay. Bye.